What if the loudest joke in Hollywood was actually a warning shot? Years before sealed filings and deadline whispers, Ricky Gervais stared down a glittering room and named the unnameable Epstein without flinching. Laughter froze, smiles stiffened. In hindsight, that moment reads less like comedy and more like a timestamp.
In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you.
Timing tells stories. As the clock ticks toward a promised release window, a strange migration begins. Headlines frame it as politics, retirement, or lifestyle changes. Yet the exits cluster, the sales accelerate, and the destinations repeat. Patterns matter more than press releases. When powerful people move together, they're reacting to shared information, not shared whims. Actionable takeaway: separate claims from patterns. Don't assume guilt. Track behavior. Watch synchronized moves, rushed asset sales, and permanent relocations. When narratives shift overnight, ask who benefits and why now. Keep receipts, save sources, and resist emotional conclusions. Calm analysis beats viral outrage every time. Picture a private island resurfacing in fragments. Rooms photographed, devices cataloged, names obscured. It's unsettling, not because of what's shown, but because of what's hidden. Redactions spark anxiety, uncertainty breeds motion, silence amplifies fear. As officials argue over transparency, the public hears two messages at once: release everything or risk louder questions. Survivors speak with clarity about what they know, not what they speculate. That contrast, measured testimony versus guarded disclosure, creates pressure. Pressure creates exits. Actionable takeaway: follow primary sources. Read statements, note exact language, and distinguish evidence from inference. When officials debate process, watch how stakeholders reposition. The smartest move is patience with rigor. Verify timelines, compare claims, and avoid amplifying rumors that outpace facts. Surprising insight: jokes age faster than denials. Gervais didn't accuse, he punctured a bubble. By mocking power's discomfort, he exposed a social truth. Fear thrives where accountability is delayed. Humor reveals fractures. Rewatch the moment and notice the reaction, not the punchline. The room's response mattered more than the words. Today, that discomfort echoes as reputations hedge and advisors rewrite stories. It's not proof of wrongdoing, it's proof of risk management. Actionable takeaway: analyze reactions, not rhetoric. When institutions laugh nervously or go quiet, map who changes behavior next. Create a checklist. Legal exposure, asset moves, geography, messaging shifts, and score consistency over time. Patterns beat hot takes. Here's a vivid scenario. Homes listed below expectations, schedules cleared, temporary moves turning permanent. Each decision alone is ordinary. Together, they're coordinated. Coordination is the clue. Public explanations arrive fast: elections, family, wellness, yet they diverge from the same underlying action: distance. Distance from jurisdictions, from assets, from headlines. None of this proves guilt. It proves anticipation. And anticipation reshapes industries before documents ever drop. Actionable takeaway: protect your perspective. Avoid naming villains prematurely. Focus on structural signals. Track deadlines, note who benefits from delay, and watch how narratives evolve post-release. If nothing changes, that's information too. Stay curious, stay disciplined, and let verified facts lead. Let's start where the exits became impossible to ignore: the headline departures. When a household name relocates quietly, it's easy to shrug. When several do it within weeks, attention sharpens. Clustering changes meaning. Publicists cite fatigue, lifestyle resets, or political disillusionment, yet the mechanics tell another story. Properties moved fast, prices trimmed, timelines compressed. These aren't leisurely transitions, they're efficient. Efficiency usually follows urgency, not preference. Actionable takeaway: watch transaction details, not statements. Speed, discounts, and destination choices reveal more than interviews ever will. If a move is truly about peace, it's unhurried. When it's about risk, it's surgical. Track the difference and you'll see the signal. Consider the destinations themselves. Certain countries repeat for a reason: legal insulation, slower processes, or simple distance. That doesn't imply wrongdoing, it implies strategy. Strategy precedes storms. We've seen this playbook before in corporate scandals and political probes. Advisors recommend minimizing exposure while narratives stabilize. The move isn't to vanish, it's to buy time. Time reframes headlines and cools public attention.
Actionable takeaway: map the why behind the where. Look up treaties, timelines, and historical precedents.
Understanding incentives prevents emotional leaps. When you know the rules of the board, each piece's movement makes sense without conspiracy thinking. Now layer in the market behavior. Panic selling isn't loud, it's practical. Accept a smaller return, close quickly, remove friction. Liquidity beats pride. When wealthy figures accept losses they'd normally avoid, it signals priority shift. Preservation outranks profit. Again, that's not guilt, it's caution under uncertainty. Markets don't moralize, they react. Actionable takeaway: learn to read financial behavior as context, not verdict. Loss acceptance, cash consolidation, and portfolio simplification are classic risk responses. Use them as indicators of perceived threat, not proof of crimes. Precision keeps credibility intact. The quiet exits matter as much as the loud ones. Some names don't announce anything, they just stop being present. Appearances drop, schedules thin, interviews vanish. This is the second wind of the story, the less dramatic, more telling phase. When scrutiny rises, the safest move is invisibility. Not denial, not confrontation, just less surface area. Actionable takeaway: notice who fades, not just who leaves. Track canceled projects, postponed premieres, and sudden breaks. These subtle shifts often precede bigger moves. Staying observant without becoming accusatory is the balance. Discipline over drama always wins. Here's where the story deepens. Proximity without accusation. Being in the same rooms, on the same jets, or at the same events doesn't prove misconduct, but it creates reputational gravity. Gravity pulls careers down. In modern media, association travels faster than facts. A name appears near another name, and context collapses. Advisors know this. That's why distance becomes valuable before documents surface. It's about reducing splash damage, not rewriting history. Actionable takeaway: separate legal exposure from reputational exposure. One requires evidence, the other requires timing. When scrutiny rises, expect people to minimize overlap, scrub calendars, and narrow circles. Understanding this distinction keeps analysis grounded and fair. Think about why comedy cuts deeper than reporting sometimes. A joke bypasses defenses and lands truth sideways. Gervais didn't present evidence, he spotlighted discomfort. Discomfort reveals fault lines. When power laughs nervously, it's signaling awareness, not innocence or guilt. Years later, those signals align with today's movements. Not causation, correlation. But correlations matter when they stack. Actionable takeaway: catalog moments of visible discomfort in hindsight. Award shows, panels, interviews note reactions, not applause. These snapshots help contextualize later behavior. Memory is a tool, use it to test narratives against history. Another overlooked factor: insurance. When risk rises, insurers adjust. Policies tighten, premiums climb, coverage narrows. Paperwork predicts panic. High-profile figures respond by simplifying exposure. Fewer assets, fewer jurisdictions, fewer obligations. It's boring, technical, and extremely telling. This is how crises look before they look like crises. Actionable takeaway: follow the boring signals. Legal filings, corporate changes, trust restructures. These moves rarely trend online, but they shape outcomes. If you want foresight, read footnotes, not headlines. That's where reality hides. So what are we actually watching? Not a verdict, not a reveal. We're watching pre-impact behavior, the phase where people prepare for multiple outcomes at once. Preparation is neutral. Some will be cleared, some will be questioned, some names may never appear at all. The exits don't decide that. They only tell us who believes uncertainty is rising. Actionable takeaway: hold conclusions loosely and standards tightly. Demand evidence, respect due process, and stay alert to patterns without inflating them. The truth doesn't need help, only patience. When the record opens, clarity follows. Second wind begins with the industry itself. Studios don't wait for verdicts, they wait for risk thresholds. When uncertainty spikes, projects stall, contracts pause, and creative differences suddenly multiply. Risk freezes momentum. You'll notice delays framed as scheduling conflicts or budget reviews. That's not coincidence, it's containment. Decision makers reduce exposure while waiting for clarity. The result feels like a slowdown, but it's really a recalibration under pressure. Actionable takeaway: watch production calendars and deal announcements. When green lights turn amber across unrelated projects, it signals systemic caution. Don't read it as collapse, read it as hedging. Understanding that distinction keeps you from overreacting while staying alert. Another twist hides in philanthropy and rebranding. When scrutiny rises, public generosity often surges. New foundations appear. Old causes get louder. Image seeks insulation. This isn't sinister by default, it's strategic. Reputation management intensifies when narratives feel unstable. Advisors recommend visible goodwill to anchor public perception while facts sort themselves out. It's a familiar move in high-stakes reputational storms. Actionable takeaway: evaluate timing, not intent. Support good causes without letting them distract from accountability. Ask whether visibility increased suddenly and why. Balance appreciation for charity with a clear-eyed view of narrative management. Two truths can coexist. Listen closely to language shifts. Statements move from confident to conditional, from present to passive voice. We are becomes it was. Grammar signals stress. PR teams refine phrasing to minimize future contradictions. That's not deception, it's legal hygiene. Still patterns emerge when many voices adopt the same cautious tone at once. Synchrony reveals shared concern. Actionable takeaway: read statements aloud. Notice hedges, qualifiers, and temporal distancing. Compare versions over time. Consistency builds credibility. Drift suggests recalibration. You don't need leaks to detect change. Words leave tracks. Finally, consider the audience's role. Outrage accelerates misinformation. Patience preserves truth. Viral certainty feels satisfying but corrodes trust when corrections arrive. Restraint protects credibility. As releases approach, the smartest observers slow down. They bookmark sources, archive claims, and wait. When documents appear, they compare, not pounce. That's how durable understanding forms. Actionable takeaway: prepare your own playbook. Save timelines, list claims, and predefine standards of proof. Decide now how you'll update beliefs when facts change. Curiosity with discipline outperforms certainty with speed every time. So where does this leave the warning that started it all? Not as prophecy, not as proof, but as context. Ricky Gervais didn't name names, he named a mood, a room uneasy with scrutiny, a culture allergic to consequences. Context clarifies patterns. Now, as deadlines loom and disclosures approach, we're watching how power behaves under uncertainty. Some moves will prove unnecessary. Others will look prescient. That's how inflection points work. Clarity arrives unevenly, and reactions precede revelations. Actionable takeaway: don't confuse anticipation with admission. Let documents speak when they appear. Until then, refine your lens. Track behaviors, verify sources, and resist narrative shortcuts. When the dust settles, those who stayed rigorous will understand more and regret less. Here's the final frame. Truth rarely arrives with fireworks. It arrives in files, footnotes, and follow-ups. The exits, the hedges, the pauses, they're the overture, not the symphony. Facts finish stories. Some careers will rebound. Some reputations will change. Some assumptions will collapse. And many headlines will quietly age out of relevance. What endures is process, how transparency is handled, how accountability is measured, how institutions respond. Actionable takeaway: stay engaged after the drop. Read primary documents, compare reporting, and watch for corrections. Hold space for nuance and due process. Not professional advice, consult a qualified expert as needed.